Welcome into WPRI OT NCAA Tournament Edition. I'm Mark Dondero. Yanni Caracas is joining me from Sacramento, California, as he gets set for URI and Creighton. And Yanni, let's start right there. Not really a topic off the top here, but what's the mood like there? Set the scene for us as this game's about to get underway in about an hour plus.
Well, Mark, I have a DJ spinning about 20 yards from me. He's got the techno beats going. It's 75 and sunny. It's St. Patty's Day, so the mood is great here. For URI fans, they're pretty optimistic. They're 1.5-point favorites as an 11 seed. That's pretty unheard of. So they've won 8 games in a row coming into here. And, you know, a lot is at stake. I think if they win 2 games, that could be huge to reignite this program. We know they haven't won a game since '98 when they went to the Elite Eight. So a palpable buzz here talking to the URI fans. So I want to ask you, as URI's season is ongoing right now, PC's ended the other night in the first 4. How would you characterize, or who had the better non-NCAA tournament season as we stand here?
Okay, so this question includes the conference tournament. The answer is URI. They disappointed for much of the season, but at the end of the year, obviously, they went on and won the A10 tournament. They get the trophy, so they get the nod here. But PC, it's very close. It is very close because of how they exceeded expectations and the way they exceeded expectations and made the tournament. I know they were only in the playing game, that first 4 game, but you could have argued that they shouldn't have been in that game. So the answer is URI because they won the tournament. They got it together late. Last thing I'll say here, it would be interesting, as you just alluded to, if URI could win, say, 2 games, because PC's been to the tournament 4 straight years. They've never won more than 1 game. If URI could find a way to win a couple games and go on a run, that'd be interesting.
If you can get to the Sweet 16, that's just huge. You're in the national media, you're in the conversation for an additional week. Sweet 16 banners will go up in the Ryan Center. So yeah, the answer is URI. Anytime you win the conference tournament for the first time in 18 years and get to the dance, you have bragging rights within the state. But I think we all agree PC really overachieved this year. They got to the dance, and they're bringing everyone back. So this is kind of a transition year in which they still did big things.
PC also did beat URI once again, just a little footnote there. Let's go to football. Dont'a Hightower re-signed. He was a free agent. He re-signed with the Patriots earlier this week. How big was that for the Patriots this offseason?
I think it was huge because he's a team captain. He occupies that Teddy Bruschi, Gerard Mayo, Willie McGinnis locker room that kind of signifies being the leader of the defense. And he's one of those players, Mark, that I think the Patriots value more than other teams would have. We know he's a dynamic linebacker. We know he makes big plays, most notably 2 enormous plays in Super Bowls 49 and 51. But I thought the price tag was interesting because maybe Hightower and his agent thought that he was going to get more money out there. 4 for 43 is under $11 million a year. I think he was looking at 12 or 13. So at the end of the day, from his perspective, why not return to New England where you're comfortable? The money wasn't necessarily better elsewhere. And as you've been saying all week, continuity. He's played for Nick Saban. He plays for Bill Belichick. He's used to a certain successful culture. He says it's a win for the Pats, win for Hightower, and it shows that if you play well in your rookie deal, you can re-sign with the Pats, although we've seen that be the contrary with Collins and with Chandler Jones and other players. So it's good to have a homegrown guy stick around for a little longer.
Yeah, I think the Patriots were offering him 10, I want to say, before the year or earlier when they went to the negotiating table. Obviously, that's big that they were able to keep him. But, yeah, how important. It's very important. Strength up the middle. A linebacker, a safety. Those are the types of players that you need. I know culture definitely played a role, as you alluded to. He's been with the best organizations, the best programs. I'm sure he looked at some other places. And the market didn't really take shape the way I thought it would for Dont'a Hightower, but he probably looked around. If the money was comparable, do you really want to go do that? Do you really want to go play for the Jets, despite the wonderful cupcakes, I'm sure? So Dont'a Hightower comes back, and it really you kind of said it was a good look for the Patriots to show people that if you play well under your rookie deal, you can get re-signed. It would have been really tough. We'll see what happens with Malcolm Butler. We're going to talk about that in a second. But if the Patriots lost Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins, Hightower, and Butler, that's disappointing. You got to pinpoint at least one of those guys and keep them on, and that's what they seem to have done right here.
All right, you mentioned Malcolm Butler. It has been kind of a whirlwind, crazy dynamic with the Pats signing Stephon Gilmore to open up free agency. There's rumors of him going to New Orleans, possibly for the 32 pick. Hasn't signed the offer sheet. He's got the $3.9 million salary. So many different things go into this. Most notably, the relationship. If it's even, can they come back from this? So, what do you make of all the ongoing drama with Malcolm Butler, and do you think he'll be back next year?
Well, I'm disappointed. I wanted him locked up. I wanted him kept. I wanted him to stay in New England, so it doesn't appear like that's going to happen now. I think there's a chance he could be here next year, playing under that RFA tender, that 1 year, whatever it is, $3.91 million tender as a restricted free agent. When they franchised Asante Samuel after the 2006 season, he played that 1 year on the franchise tag, and then you knew after that year he was probably gone, and he was. So it kind of feels like that situation. But I don't know, Yanni. I don't know why they haven't been or haven't seemed more committed to Malcolm Butler. I think he's done everything you could have asked the player to do in this organization. He came from nowhere, exceeded expectations wildly, made the biggest plays in the biggest games, did everything you asked for, and was a good player. The only thing I could think of is maybe Bill Belichick, and this is just spitballing, maybe he doesn't like his size. Maybe he's trying to lean more on bigger, rangier corners and thinks that's more of the way the league is going and doesn't prioritize a smaller guy, despite the fact that I think he's a great player and that I'd love to have him on the team.
Listen, I wish they had locked up Butler before any of this happened, and I get why they signed Gilmore to kind of hedge their bet if they don't get Butler. He's a bigger cornerback, as you alluded to, but as you mentioned, Butler came from nowhere to become a Super Bowl hero. He's a top corner, we think, in the league. The only thing I can think of is maybe Belichick isn't as high on him as we think he is, or he's just flexing his muscles in the negotiating room because he really has Butler handcuffed. The question will be, can he play for the Patriots next year after all this has transpired? Can they put their differences behind? Can he play here for the year with Gilmore opposite him? And can they coexist with two great corners? Because I don't think at this point a long-term deal is in the cards. So if the Patriots and Butler feel that the relationship isn't sustainable, then I think he ends up going to the Saints. But I think it's sort of too bad. You'd like to see him get locked up. And it was curious that they went with Gilmore when typically I think Belichick likes his own guys more than bringing people from elsewhere. We see that with coaching staff. So a very unusual situation there with Malcolm Butler.
Just to answer your question, real quick, Butler, I do think, will be able to kind of get it together and play on that 1 year tender, even if some feelings were hurt during the offseason. Stephon Gilmore getting big money. I think he'll be able to get it together, but I don't see, like you said, a long-term deal in the cards for Malcolm Butler, and it's unfortunate. But Bill Belichick signing Stephon Gilmore to the big deal, never coached him, hasn't been here, a little odd. We'll see how that transpires. Last question here. Was this, and the Butler thing's still fluid, but they've made a ton of moves. Was this the best offseason that you can ever remember the New England Patriots having?
I'll put it number 2. The offseason between 06 and 07 still is number 1. Now, we have the benefit of looking back when you have Randy Moss, perhaps the greatest receiver ever, Wes Welker, your career reception leader organizationally, Dante Stallworth. Correct me if I'm wrong, was Adalius Thomas that year? Dante Stallworth?
Yeah.
So it had one of those all-in feels, 07. After 06, that putrid group of receivers they gave Tom Brady, Jabbar Gaffney, Ray Shea Caldwell, when they should have won the Super Bowl that year. So I think 07 still trumps this year, but Brandon Cooks, Patriot fans are always like, get Brady like a burner or a receiver that can catch an 80-yard touchdown, and they actually got it this year. So we knew Belichick was interested in Cooks and pulled the trigger. Gilmore, Coney Ealy, a lot of guys coming back. So I would put this number 2, a very impressive offseason. Makes you feel like he's all in. Maybe he sees the Brady window and he wants to win one more.
A couple things about what you just said there. I believe, I'd have to go back and check, but I believe coming off of the 06-07 offseason, did they have 2 first-round picks that year or just 1? I think they only had 1 that year. Maybe it was the next year.
They had Lawrence Maroney. I think Maroney was 07. Oh, and I forgot to mention Seau. Wasn't Seau in 07?
Seau was another.
Because there's that cover of Sports there's that cover of Sports Illustrated. I think it was Seau, Bruschi, Adelius, and someone else on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Maybe I'm thinking of 2000. After the undefeated season, they had 2 first-round picks, I believe, and they took Gerard Mayo at like 10 overall, and then they got that other pick wiped away because of Spygate, I believe. You could factor in, if you want, I don't know if this is fair or not, the championship. The Patriots coming off of a title make all these moves, so that enhances this offseason. But I also will put this offseason number 2. The number 1 offseason in the history of the New England Patriots has to be the year 2000. You sign Bill Belichick, you hire Bill Belichick, and then you draft Tom Brady as your quarterback. I don't know, whatever the heck else happened that year. It doesn't matter. That was the best offseason in the history of the New England Patriots. 2000, Belichick, Brady, dynasty, glory. Anyway, that's it for Double OT. Yanni Caracas getting set for URI and Creighton. We'll have coverage all week long as the Rhody Rams are in the tournament. Yanni, thanks. Any last words?
Go Rhody, and stop making fun of my Twitter run pictures.
It was a great picture. Noted, though. All right, thanks a lot for the insight, Yanni. Have a good one.